Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. If everyone again can be sure and mute your phones right now so there's no background noise and everybody can hear. There's a lot of us in the room tonight, so I want to make sure that everybody can hear as well as possible. What I'd like to do first is take a few minutes and talk about, I'm sure there's a number of us here on the call that have not spoken to anybody in our office at this point. Good evening. So I'd like to take a few minutes and just run through very quickly what we do in our store development program. Good evening. Uh, we are the largest developer of retail stores in North America for independent business owners, and we've opened over 2,900 dollar stores since 1993 nationwide. Um, we have
No, no
seven.
quiere Selena hablar.
I'm sorry. Can you please mute your phone, sir? Sir, could you mute your phone, please? Thank you. We are,
Mute.
yes, mute it so we can hear your background noise.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. And then we'll open it up later. We have 7 key services that we provide as we develop a store for you. We provide financing assistance, site location assistance. We negotiate your lease agreement. We do a complete setup of the store, including all the labor, fixtures, merchandise, interior signage, outdoor sign, and so on. Cash registers and all the shelving units and everything you need. We provide comprehensive training. Right now we're doing the training over the internet and via phone because of the COVID-19 situation. We've been doing that for many years and it's a very effective process. At that point, you become part of our merchandise network. In financing, we have a number of lenders that can address virtually every credit profile that one might have. So the first thing we do when you make your application deposit is we go through financing. We look at the options that are available to you, and we provide that information to you. If you decide to go forward, we then move you into real estate department. We start to look at every location that's available in the area that you've designated for us. And as we find locations that we believe are interesting and have merit, we load all the information about them onto a website that you'll have access to, and you'll be able to see everything there is to know about every location, competition, traffic, household income, population, ethnicity, everything that you would like to know. And we ask you to visit those locations and give us your feedback about them. And as we identify locations that you are interested in and we believe have merit, we negotiate on them for you so we can get to the final set of terms for a lease agreement. And we negotiate on generally several locations, 3, 4, whatever that might be. So when we're all done, you have a nice set of options in front of you, and we can talk about the pluses and minuses of each one so you can make the best possible decision for yourself. Once the lease is agreed upon and signed, we have you sign the purchase agreement and we design your store, lay out the fixtures, we lay out where the merchandise is going to go. Then you move to our operations department, and our operations department will coordinate with you and your landlord to make sure the space is ready in a timeliest fashion as possible. We then schedule our setup crew to come out. They arrive at your store on a Sunday evening. They'll walk the store with you. Monday morning, the truck carrying the fixtures and equipment arrives. Our crew is there. We unload everything. We start setting it up. Monday afternoon, the merchandise starts arriving, and we're receiving it and setting it up as well. And by Friday evening or Saturday morning, the latest, your store is 100% done and ready to open. It takes us 1 week from start to finish. It's an incredible process, and we open many stores every year, and hopefully have the opportunity to open your stores as well. What I wanted to talk about for just a second is that, as I mentioned in the email and the text that I had sent to you all earlier this week, there will never be a better time than right now to get into this business. The dollar store business has always been very strong. It's getting stronger every year as more and more people visit the stores, see the value that we have in the merchandise, and become repeat customers. And that's been happening for 10 or 15 years now. And the boom is amazing. And a couple of things have happened more recently that made that even more impressive. During the COVID-19 situation, where many businesses unfortunately had to shut down, uh, dollar stores were considered in virtually every state to be an essential business. They did not have to close. And if you've been in a grocery store earlier this year, you know that a lot of items were not available. Paper products, household cleaners, a lot of food items. There were a lot of shortages, and it took the grocery stores quite a while to catch up. The dollar stores had these products throughout. We had virtually no interruptions in supplies for those types of products. So customers that had never shopped our stores before visited our stores, found that we had the product they needed, and they become regular customers. In fact, Dollar General for the first quarter of this year, the second quarter of this year, their sales were up over 22% versus 2019. That's incredible, and they continue to climb. This is a $60 billion industry right now, and growing every month. Uh, so the COVID-19 situation has introduced many more customers, first-time customers, to the dollar stores, and they're going to stay. That I can tell you. The same thing happened in 2008 when the economy kind of took a big dip, if you remember that. More and more customers found dollar stores for the first time because they needed to. They needed to save money and they needed to get good value for their money. And every article I've read since then says those customers stayed. Even when the economy got better, they found that the values were real. They could find what they wanted. They could get in and out of the stores quickly, as opposed to going into a large big box store, having to walk across a half mile of parking lot to buy 6 or 10 items that they needed. They love the dollar stores, and we, of course, love them. Coupled with all of that, the economy is improving. I know we have a long way to go, but unemployment claims have dipped every month for the last months. Uh, 1.4 million new jobs were created just in August, and all the indicators are up. Retail sales were up last month just under 6%, and they were up the month before as well. So the economy is coming back, and the retail economy is coming back faster than any other segment. The other thing that's happening is because of the closures and because unfortunately some marginal businesses were not able to survive. Um, there are many good locations available, and landlords are highly motivated to get tenants into those locations. They're offering lower rental rates than I've ever seen in years, more free rent, delayed possession if you want to do that. There are spaces, and most importantly, right now is an incredibly good time because we can get you open in as little as 30 days, and you can be open to holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, and get a good running start into next year, and then introduce your store to as many customers as possible in as short a period of time, because everybody's going to be out shopping for fall and Christmas. So that's kind of in a nutshell why this business is doing so well, number one, and why this is a great time. Would the person with the dog in the background please mute your phone? Thank you.
You are connected to the meeting, yeah?
Thank you. So what I'd like to do now
Good.
is share with you for just a minute one other item, and then I'm going to open it all up for questions. Um, what we've added to our store program over the last number of months is the ability for you to add, sir, please cease the conversation while we're on the line, please. Thank you. What we've done now is we've added many new services that you can add as you choose to create extra revenue in your stores. Things like mailbox rental, key duplication, banner printing, uh, the ability to participate in the EBT program and take food stamps, which allows people to shop throughout your store using their EBT card, notary services, faxing services, computer time rental, and in certain areas where it's permissible, we can help you put in tobacco, beer, and wine. So there's no end of things that we can help you add to your store to customize it for you and to increase revenue. And now what I'd like to do is kind of open the floor up to questions. So if anybody
Hi.
has, yes, go ahead.
Hi. Hi. My name's Eliana Johan. I'm from New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had mentioned that there could be an additional liquor to the store
Yes.
for us to customize. Do we need to apply for the liquor license and everything on our own,
Yeah,
or
yes,
will
as
will
the
you guys?
as the business owner, yes, you would have to apply for it, but we can walk you through that process, and it's different in every city
Okay.
and county. But yeah, absolutely. And if it's able to be done, we can
Okay.
help you get it done.
Okay. Understood. Yeah, because in New Orleans, that would be a good thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in Las Vegas, also a good thing to have.
Okay. So as well, I don't know if you had mentioned the scaling. Is it a base price for the whole thing, or is it depending on size of the store?
The price of the store?
Yes.
Yes, it does
Is it
obviously.
based on the size or? Mhm.
It does depend on the size, and we start at 1,000 square feet, and the price for that is 76,900. And then one thing I
Okay.
did want to mention, if I can interrupt for just a second, we do have different formats of our dollar stores. We have the dollar only store, which is very much like a Dollar Tree. And then we have a Dollar Plus store, which is like a Family Dollar or Dollar General, where about half the product sells for $1 and the rest of the items sell for anywhere from $1 to $10. We also have a convenience type store, which it's called the neighborhood market, which works great in very urban areas, like in a downtown area, like in New York or in Chicago, uh, where the population is very dense, and you have a lot of people that live right by the store, maybe in apartments or condos, things like that. So we have a store that's geared for that type of situation. And then we also do a big box store, which starts at 10,000 square feet, which is kind of like a mini grocery store. And our pricing is competitive with every grocery store that you would have in your area. Uh, and the most exciting thing we have right now is a store that we call our 123 store, which is different from any other retailer that's out there. And in the 123 store, um, about half the product sells for $1, and then the balance of the goods that you would sell for between 1 and 3, and we do have a hybrid that can be a 1 to 5 store. And that store works well in pretty much any type of location or environment. Doesn't matter if there's competition close by because it's totally unique. And we've got a lot of those starting to come out of the ground now. It's a very exciting process. And Dollar Tree recently uh, announced what they call Dollar Tree 2.0, where for so many years Dollar Tree has not sold anything for more than $1. Now they're introducing a store format where they are going to do that, and we've been doing it for many years, so they're kind of catching up with us, I like to say. Um, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to get that information out too. So other questions?
Can I can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Are you on a franchise system or you just help us set up the dollar store?
The second statement is correct. We're not a franchise, so we don't charge any fees or royalties, or we don't have you pay into an advertising fund or anything like that. You pay us one time to develop your store, and that's it. However, once you're open, you're number one, you become part of our merchandise network, and you will save 20 to 25% on product every time you place an order versus what you would pay as an individual going to the same suppliers. So there's a huge benefit to being within our system, number one. Number two, we assign somebody to work with you after you're open in our office. And for the first 90 to 120 days, after your training is done and after your store is open, they will be on the phone with you every day, tracking your sales with you by category, helping you write reorders, helping you get ready for every season so that we stay with you to make sure your store gets off the ground and starts working properly. After that first 90 to 120 days, if you feel you've got your arms around the store and we agree with you, then we move your store to a long-term coordinator's desk, and that person will continue to provide that same support for you, help you get ready for every season, write the orders, continue to sell you new product information and new supplier information every week, so that so that your store is always fresh and new when your customers come in. And there's no charge for any of that service. We do it for as long as you're open. One other that's, if I can touch on, that's very important, in our merchandise system, there are three components that are critical, and they are value, variety, and new merchandise. We provide value because we visit all of our suppliers every month. Uh, we hand select the best new items that they have, excuse me, and I negotiate the prices on those items. If I can get to a price that I believe presents an excellent value and I like the quality of the product, we list it and present it to you, and you can make the decision as to whether you want to buy that item or not. So we spend a lot of time, and I spend a lot of time on the road working merchandise and getting the information out to you. We're able to provide variety because we have about 80 suppliers in our network that provide every category of merchandise that you could imagine. A big advantage to being in our network as well is that if you're in if you're in New Orleans, for example, you can, as an independent owner, you can pretty much just buy from suppliers that are in and around your area because that's what you know and that's what's available to you. So your store is going to look like every other store in New Orleans, same product, same suppliers. You can have product in your store that no other business in your area has because you're part of our network. It's a huge, huge advantage competitively when compared with other stores in your area. The variety that you can provide is going to be like no other independent store would be able to provide. And the last component is new merchandise. And the new merchandise, having new merchandise in your store is so critical, and I will tell you why. Um, when people shop a store, when you shop a store, when I shop a store, I go in and I know exactly what I want to buy. And when I go into a dollar store, which I do about 3 times a week, I don't know what that noise is, but if you could mute your phone, it would be very helpful and appreciated. Thank you. Please mute that phone. Thank you. When I go into a store, I know that I want to buy 6 or 7 items, and I'll get paper towels and toilet tissue and some snack foods and so on. And then I walk around the store like you would, and I see some items that intrigue me. They look like great values. I may pick up a table runner for my entryway table to make my wife happy, and I might pick up a man-made chamois so I can wash my car on the weekends, and some toys for my grandkids. And so now, where I went into that store intending to spend $6 or $7, I've now spent $12 or $15 because now I'm buying items that I didn't know I needed, but the value is so good that I have to have them, and so I buy those items. The next time I come into your store, whoever has that noise in the background, please mute it. Thank you. Um, Next time I go into your store next week, I need those consumable items. I need the paper towels. I need the toilet tissue. I need the shampoo because I've used them up. I don't need the table runner. I don't need the chamois and so on because I still have them. But if you show me something new in home decor or in auto care, now I'm a customer again. And that's why the new goods, having new products in your store each and every week, so important because you have the same customers. You've got them show them something new each and every time they visit. That will build your average sale and will also build your profit. It's key. And we deliver to you information on hundreds of new items each and every week. And your representative here in our office will help you pick and choose the ones that will work best for you because they've been tracking your sales by category. They know that you happen to be a great hardware store. So they're going to make sure, excuse me, that every new hardware offering is presented to you, or you're a good jewelry store. So we're going to make sure that you see all the new jewelry products that are available. So the merchandise system, getting you open is the first part of our job. Having you be as successful as possible is the second part of our job.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Madeline from Miami, Florida.
Hi, Madeline. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me. Good. Thank you for inviting me. You said you had a big box store. What's the square footage on that, and what's the price?
Okay, the big box starts at 10,000 square feet. As I said, it's kind of like a mini grocery. And that starts at, I will tell you if you give me 1 second. They're very exciting stores. They start at $352,000.
Okay.
And
And
that is, go
what's
ahead, I'm sorry.
the lowest one?
The smallest store we do is our 1,000 square foot store, and it starts at 76.9.
Okay.
And how much we would have to put down?
Well, we help you get financing if you need it. You can start with just a $500 deposit and application, and what we'll do is when that is done, we put you in our finance department, and they can tell you within 72 hours uh, what type of loan options are available to you and how much you qualify for. And then if you decide to go forward, we get you into real estate and start looking at locations. If you don't like the loan options, um, or you're not successful in securing a loan at that time, we just refund your money and we part as friends.
What is this
I
that I
haven't
hear
done that
or that
on one
I've
of
been
these.
reading about the the CARE Act or something like that? What
Yeah,
is that? They
there's
help you out with that?
the CARES Act. The big benefit of it, and that's a good question. The big benefit in the CARES Act is if you have a 401k, you can borrow against it with no penalty at all. In the past, if you used a 401k, there's a penalty that you paid to your employer, and there was a fast payback. Under the CARES Act, the payback terms are much, much longer if you borrow from your 401k, and there's no penalty. So if you have a 401k, it's a great advantage and a great way to fund your store.
Okay. That's good.
Hi,
To
I wanted to know, does your credit also play a part in getting the store?
I'm sorry, I didn't get all of that. Can you repeat it, please?
Do your credit also be considered for your store?
Is the credit important in getting the financing?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, they always look at a FICO score. And what I always say, if you're in the low to mid 600s, the odds of getting financing are very, very good. And what I always tell people is, don't assume if your credit score is a little lower or it's got some bumps on it. Excuse me. Don't assume that you can't get financing, because a lot of our lenders can help you remove things from your credit report that are negatives. Uh, they can help you do sometimes a little bit of credit repair. So I always caution people, if you think your credit score is not strong enough, don't think that. Let us take a run at it with you, and you may be surprised.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to know, I have a land that I purchased in Bluff City, Kansas. I'd like to know, and it's just been sitting there, I haven't been done anything with it. Can you guys construct there? Is that something that could benefit?
We don't do any construction. I mean, we can help you find someone. We've had people in the past that have done like steel buildings or tilt-up buildings. But in our system, we come into basically a finished space and then set up the store. But if it's in a good location and you can get some extra funding to do a building, um, that can be beneficial. I always recommend for a first business, always better to lease, because you may find a couple of things. You may find that you don't like the business. I don't know. I know that's not going to happen, but it could happen. More importantly, you may find that the business goes so well that you need a bigger space than you've built. So if you lease, you always have the option to expand. If you build a building, that's the building that you have. So my recommendation is, and it keeps your initial investment lower. You can get into the business, learn it, and then look for a larger location, or then on that piece of land that you have.
No, thank you.
Next question?
Well, hi. I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
First one is, what is the average profit margin in this industry since the prices are so low?
Okay.
And secondly,
Go ahead.
in terms of the square footage, 1,000 square feet in Columbus, Ohio compared to New York is very, very different. So if you start with 76,000, what is the criteria used in determining what the cost would be for each area?
Okay. Good questions. Let me take the first one first. The average cost of goods in the dollar only store is 54 to 55 cents. So your gross margin on merchandise is going to be about 45%, which is actually stronger than Dollar Tree because you don't have all the layers of management, you don't have the distribution center costs and so on. So your average cost of goods, as I say, is going to be 54 to 55 cents. You've got a nice gross margin on merchandise. The second part of the question, 1,000 square foot store in the Midwest or in New York, um, and I want to try to best answer this for you. Obviously, the rental rates are going to be different, but the sales volume as well is going to be significantly different. So what we do in each instance, if you were to look to develop a store in the Bronx in New York, once we found a location and once we've negotiated the terms for the lease, before you ever put a pen to paper, what I do with you is I'll sit down, we'll get on the phone, and I will do an estimated P&L statement based on that particular store because now we know everything there is to know about it. We know what's the rent's going to be, what other businesses are around you, who the competitors are and where they are, how much vehicle traffic and foot traffic there is, what the population is in 1, 3, and 5 miles, what the household income is, and so on. So at that point, we can crunch some numbers, so to speak, and you can see if that store is going to be viable in that location before you make the decision to go forward. And we do that in every situation, every instance.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is Dimitri Bolden from Chicago.
How are you, sir?
Oh, pretty good. My question is, if you approve for your capital, say your line of credit, does the line of credit includes a payroll, helping with the payroll as your store is open, or is it like a limited time that the finances help with that, and then you're on your own?
It's a good question. What we do in finance, and I'll walk through this very quickly, but we do a set of estimates of expenses that you're going to have at opening and shortly after opening. So we have a number that we have set aside for working capital, which typically will cover the first 3 to 4 weeks of payroll, in addition to other expenses that you may incur, rent deposit, security deposit, utility deposits. So we put all those numbers together. So, for example, if you were going to do, just to use some numbers, 1,000 square foot store, and it's 76,900, we would want to make sure that you had available to you in total maybe $95,000 to cover those other expenses. Whether or not you use it all, but we want you to have it. What I will say with regards to this business is they tend to establish themselves very, very quickly. A lot of businesses, you get open, you have to find a location and you get open, and people have to see that you're there, and then they have to understand what you do, what your business is, and then they have to have a need for what you do. In the dollar store business, everybody knows what it is, everybody knows what you have, and everybody needs your product today. So, so they establish themselves very, very quickly, and you can be profitable almost immediately. And keep in mind that when we negotiate leases, we also negotiate for a number of months of free rent, so that you may be open rent free for 2, 3, 4 months, which is a great advantage as well. So.
Okay, so it's a certain limitation on the payroll, but after that, you pretty much make enough, I guess, funds to be able to start on your own payroll within a month or two. Anyway, is that correct?
Exactly. You'll be funding your store right out of the cash flow. The store will be paying the salaries, rebuying the merchandise, paying the rent. And in training we kind of talk about how to budget for those things as well. Um,
Hmm.
to create that discipline, which is important really when you're starting a new business. You want to make sure that you're rebuying merchandise, that you're setting aside monies for your payroll, that you're setting aside monies, if you collect sales tax in Chicago, I know, the city and state have sales taxes, so we want to make sure we set that aside each day in a separate account, so at the end of the month when you have to pay your give the sales tax that you've collected to the city or the county, it's there for you. So many
Okay.
years ago when I had my own stores, when I opened my first store, I didn't do that. I said, "Oh, I'm going to cover that at the end of the month." And it got to be the first of the next month, and I was doing my sales tax return, and lo and behold, I didn't have all the money. So, so I learned that lesson very quickly.
Okay.
I ate a lot of ramen for a few weeks. So, next question.
So the finances that you actually apply for,
Uh-huh.
once you apply for the finances or the line of credit that you apply for, do you specifically apply for enough credit for the store to be established inside, where the construction that needs to be done, and the vendors itself?
Yes, we when we let me restate that. When you apply for a loan, we make sure that you're approved and you can secure enough money to both, pay the initial package and have those extra funds in hand that you would need. Now, sometimes, depending on your credit profile and other things, often we have clients that get the ability to get a great deal more money than they need, which is a nice
Hmm.
thing, and they can choose whether to take it all now or take just what they need and know that they've got a little bit more approval available. I always encourage people to at least commit to taking as much as they can get, whether or not they actually take it. Um, because you may want to do other things. You might want to put some extra merchandise in the store. Maybe you want to add some of those add-on features that I mentioned at the beginning of the call uh, to generate some extra revenue for your store. So, and those are all things that we talk about. And the way we work is, if you do go forward and you move into real estate, you and I are going to be talking on a very regular basis, because even though you're in real estate and we assign a leasing manager and a site locator here in our office to work with you, I'm looking at all the locations. I'm approving a lot of the locations. Our owner actually approves many of the locations, and we talk through them. So you may go visit a location and say, "Well, geez, John, I like the
I have a
location, but..."
question.
So we evaluate them. So I'm very involved going forward. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, what's your price for the mid-size store? Like suppose 5,000 square feet.
5,000 square feet, a dollar only store.
Mm-hmm.
The price would
I
be
mean, whatever option I have.
164.9.
164.9.
Yeah, and all these prices are available on our website. So when we're done, if you want to take a quick minute, look at the www.dollarstoreservices.com. We have all the pricing for the different types of stores as well: the dollar plus, the dollar only, the 1, 2, 3, and so on.
Okay, so
Then
a franchise, and you don't have royalty fees and all that. Could you give us a full disclosure on how you guys make your money there?
Sure, and that's a question that's always asked, and I sometimes joke and I say I'm so happy that people are concerned about us. Uh, but the truth of the matter is, we make a small profit on every store that we develop, and we develop a lot of stores in the course of a year. That's been our business model for 25 years. Um, I'm not a big fan of franchises. They tend to take more money then often they give you in return benefits. I mean, there are some differences certainly. A McDonald's, everybody knows the McDonald's name. Uh, so maybe having a franchise and paying all those fees and royalties makes sense. But we've always tried to work with entrepreneurs. I mean, that's what I was for many years. That's what our owner was for many years. So, and folks like you are the people that we work with. People that want to kind of get a jump start, so to speak, to get into this business, but then want to be their own person. They don't want to follow any directions. We give you everything that you need to be as successful as possible. We negotiate the prices for you, and keep in mind we have to do that anyway. So this is kind of where that came from. Every time we open a new store, we need the most up-to-date product information and the most up-to-date pricing so we can deliver the best value for that store that we're building this week. So since we're doing that work anyway, there was no reason in the world why we wouldn't continue to give that information to our stores that we've opened. It's just logical. So if we have to add a few extra people in our office salary wise to do that work with the stores, it seemed to me to be an inexpensive way to provide a lot of extra benefit and value to our store owners. And we've been doing it, as I say, for almost 25 years.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think
what percentage of sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Answer my question. How do you guys make your money? Full disclosure. Do you have any fees? Is there anything, or is it because you give us the merchandise, you make money off the merchandise? How do you make your money? Give us the full disclosure.
Okay. I'll answer it one more time the same way. We make a small profit on every store that we build, and we build a lot of stores. We don't make any money on the merchandise. We don't have any hidden fees or royalties. You pay us one time, and you never pay us again. If you want to send me a tin of cookies at Christmas, that would be wonderful, but you're not obligated to do that. And I'm being as honest as I can with you, sir.
And I can vouch for that.
Sorry. I have a question. What percentage of stores that have been open has not been successful?
Okay, good question. First, as we're not a franchise, we're not in our store owners' business once they're open. But I can tell you over time, over the first 3 years, which is where I really monitor the stores, there's probably about 10% of the stores that struggle and may or may not decide to go forward and renew their lease after their first term, 3 or 5 years. That's a pretty solid number, that 10%. The rest of the stores, there's probably 20% that do very, very well. Another 60% that kind of do well. They make a nice living. And then there's, the bottom 10 to 15% that struggle a little bit. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, an owner may select a location that we can't endorse. And we tell them that. I get on the phone every week and talk to owners, prospective owners, about a location that they're in love with. In fact, I did this today because it's 5 minutes from their home. That's not the best reason to select a store. So we talk about those things, but sometimes somebody's just totally resolved that this is the store they want, this space they want, we can't turn them away. Sometimes that's a good decision, sometimes it's not. The other big reason is that, and I'm being very honest again, sometimes, and my wife always tells me if I say I'm being honest, I'm not, but I am. But sometimes people find that owning a business is just not for them. And again, I always caution people when they first get into this that it's a fun business, it's an easy business to operate, but you have to put in the work. Just like any other business, just like showing up for work every morning. You have to have a degree of dedication. If you think that you're going to come in on Friday afternoon after sitting at home all week and box up the money and take it to the bank, no business is for you. Just not this one, but none. And some people just find that owning a business is not for them, and that's okay. But the people that put in the work, you don't have to work 100 hours a week. But you got to put in a normal work week, pay attention to your business, follow the training that we deliver to you and the system that we provide to you, and it's a very fun business to operate. You see the results right away.
A quick
Yes,
question.
I have a question.
I have a question. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, young lady.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
yes, my question is regarding resupply.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that the new store owners can save 25% with some of the 80-some vendors that you help to line up.
Yes.
Could you explain that on how the savings go, or
Sure.
how does that work?
Sure. Basically what that is because you're part of our network, when we go to a supplier to negotiate prices, we're delivering the potential business of hundreds of stores to that supplier. So we're going to get a price that's much lower than you would get if you went to that same supplier with one store. So because we have buying power of all of these stores that we've developed over the years, we get the best possible pricing from the supplier. So by being part of our network, you can enjoy those savings. The prices are 20 to 25% lower than what you would pay going to that same supplier on your own.
So do you help
Thank you.
or
Thank you.
Go ahead.
training for payroll and employees? Do you offer training and help them to do those things?
Yes. Yeah, our training covers every aspect of operating a store, from maintaining the store to how to set up your bank accounts to all the things that go into the human resources, how to hire people, how to train them, how to discipline them if you need to discipline them, how to set up payroll accounts, everything from start to finish in terms of how to operate your store. And again, our trainer is always available to you. So 3 months after you open, you may want to go back and do a refresher on some things. Always available to you. And of course, you have access to our training website as well. So yeah, that's always available. It never goes away. But we do.
And what was that website again?
Areas to how to get ready for the store setup, how to operate your store, how to schedule, everything that you could imagine.
How do you make the transition to open a store? Because some point of time you cannot just quit your job. Well, I understand that until you get the lease, everything approved until the store ready to start. So how do you make that transition? That way you can survive.
Okay.
You got bills, mortgage, and all that stuff to pay, and then the store will take 3-4 weeks. You have that estimate that you gave us that I can take from the loan they lend me to manage the store for 3 to 4 weeks and until the store start making their own money. But how do I balance both?
Okay.
And figure it out, when do I stop one and fully invest in the other one?
Good question. And a lot of people are in that same situation. It's very common. What most of our store owners do is when they initially open, they'll hire just an employee to operate the store, and then they check on the store. Maybe you'll stop in the evening a couple of times. Maybe you'll work the store on your day off on Saturday or Sunday. You keep control of the bank deposits. You keep control of the ordering, and then you really just need like somebody that's been a head cashier, maybe at a Walgreens, or a front end key person at a Dollar Tree. Not a highly paid individual, but somebody that understands retail and is responsible. And you can actually do that for a pretty long period of time. And we have owners that decide that they want to keep their employment for a pretty good piece of time, and they get that right person, and then they can do that. They can take some nice profit out of the store, they can keep their employment, and they can build that asset. Then at some point they decide, I think now I'm ready to step away from my job and make this store my job full time. So yeah, it's a very easy thing to transition, and you can do it on your timetable.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next question?
Yes, another question, please.
Yes.
You mentioned 90 to 120 days of training, and I wasn't certain what is the average turnaround for actual training and to actually get the store open. What time you're looking at?
Well, let me kind of clear that up a little bit. The training actually we do before your store is open, and that can happen on your timetable. Typically happens over a week or two because it's online and on the phone, and you can do it at your leisure. And then you follow up with our trainer, and she goes over the items that you might have questions on. The 90 to 120 days, that is after you open. Excuse me, there's someone speaking in the background. Could you please mute your phone? Thank you. That 90 to 120 days, that is after you're open. And there we have a wholesale representative in our office, a new store coordinator, so to speak. And she's helping you write replacement orders, get ready for every season and holiday and so forth. So that goes on for 90 to 120 days very intensely. Virtually every day she's on the phone with you. After that, we go back to a situation where she continues to provide that support for you, but it's a couple of times a week, but she's always available.
Somebody background, please. The background, please.
Whoever's having a conversation in the background, please mute your phone.
Turn off the TV.
Yeah, oh, thank you, yes. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay, next question.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, yes.
Okay, no, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, okay, Madeline again from Miami.
Yes, ma'am.
The big box store, can it be, the big box store that you were talking about, 10,000 square feet, can it be 5,000 square feet?
If you do,
less product?
we do a 5,000 square foot dollar and a dollar plus store, which is pretty much the same thing. So yeah, we can do that, absolutely.
Okay. Also, the employees, do we pick them or do you pick them?
You pick them. We help you through the hiring process. You know, we'll make recommendations. We'll help you write the ads if you need them. Craigslist is always a great resource for hiring people. But yeah, no, you'll make the decision, and you want to. You want to be comfortable with the people that are going to be working in your store.
Do you recommend family?
Well, I wouldn't recommend my family, but no, family is great.
Me too.
You know, church members, you know, if you belong to a church or other organization, you know, those are great resources. I've had people hire
college students.
College students are great. You know, people that are semi-retired, they want to work maybe 15, 20 hours a week, great. I always encourage people do a lot of part-time hires for a couple of reasons. One, you have more hands. You know, if you get a shipment in next Tuesday, you can bring Joe in for an extra 2 hours. And if somebody calls in sick, you don't have to pay overtime to somebody else. You have another part-timer that can work a couple of 2, 3 extra hours that day. Gives you a lot more flexibility.
One more question.
Yes.
Concerning the credit score, what is the lowest that can maybe be financed for a 5,000 square footage?
I would look for 610 to 620. And again, there's a lot of things that factor into it. It's not just the credit score. And I'm not the expert in finance, but what I know is it's not just the credit score. It's also the depth of credit. You know, how long have you had the credit? What your credit line is, your history. There's so many things that everybody's credit profile is different. You know, you could have an 800, but all your credit's brand new, so you don't qualify for very much. Or you could have a 680, but you've had that credit for 20 years, so you would qualify for a pretty nice number. So the easiest way to find out is to do the app and deposit, and like I say, in 72 hours you'll know where you can go.
How about a cosigner?
I have a question.
Credit or fixed credit.
So somebody said something about a
Like,
I have
cosigner.
a question.
yeah, me, Madeline, the
Yeah.
cosigner. What if you have a cosigner? Like,
What?
I'm trying to fix my credit. Okay, I'm
Okay.
working on it, but if I can get a cosigner, it cannot be possible.
Yeah. What we do? It's really not a cosigner, but what we would do is have them come in as a partner.
Oh, okay.
It would have to be that. Yeah. There's not a ability to add a cosigner, but if they wanted to be a funding partner, certainly we could do that.
Funding fund.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Okay,
of
I have
course,
a
I would
question.
my name on there, right?
Say that again.
I have a question.
I would still have my name on there, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
I I want to know, how do you find your location and what's it based on?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Speak a little bit louder.
How do you go about finding your location and what is it based on?
Okay. Um, what we do is when you come into real estate, we know what size store you're looking for, and our leasing team that we assign to you will get on the phone with you and we'll talk about the areas that you're in. Now, where are you located? Give me an example.
Uh, Florida.
Florida. Okay. So what we would do, say you're in Bradenton, Florida, and you're looking for 1,000 square feet. We would get on the phone with you and we'd look at all the areas in and around Bradenton, and we'd say, would you be willing to go here? Would you be willing to go here? Um, how far do you want to travel from your home? Is it 5 miles? Is it 10 miles? Uh, will you go east? Will you go south? And when we're on the phone with you, we will have already done a map that shows where the competitors are and where they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk to you, we'll say, there's a great opportunity. There's a pocket to the northeast of you. There's no competitors for 5 or 6 miles. That's an area we should center on. So we'll talk about all those things, and when we get off the phone, we will know the areas that you're primarily interested in. We start to look at all those areas, and we identify every location in those areas in the size range that you're interested in. Then we start to go through them and we comb back through them and we eliminate the ones that don't work. Maybe there's a competitor that's too close. Maybe um, the asking rent is so high that we know it's not gonna be something that we can negotiate. Then all the locations that are left, we load up onto a system that we call Easy Track. We designed it some years ago, and you will have full access to it. You can log in, and you can see everything there is to know about every one of those locations. Uh, Map of the shopping center, all the competitors, all the demographics, the traffic, and so on. Household income at 1, 3, and 5 miles. And then we ask you to visit that location or all those locations and give us your feedback, because you may see things that we don't see. For example, is the parking lot well maintained? Is it well lit at night? Is it a safe place for people to shop? And you'll give us your feedback, and then the locations that you agree have merit and have potential, those are the ones that we start to negotiate on. And you'll be in
Okay.
full tune with us as we're doing the negotiations. You'll know what we originally offer, what the counter offer is, and so on. So you'll be 100% in tune with where those negotiations are, and you're approving each step.
And are
Yeah,
there
I
any
have a question.
exclusions? Are there any exclusions in regards to what stores you can be nearby or not? For instance, if there's a supermarket or
No,
legally, are there any exclusions?
no. Legally, there are no exclusions. What you will often find is in a shopping center, some businesses may have restrictions on what other tenants can sell, and we know that when we start to negotiate. So, for example, every once in a while we'll run up against a grocery store that has a restriction. They won't allow dollar stores over a certain size, for example. Um, so we work around those things. We may discard that location, or we may say, we can coexist very nicely. You know, some of those stores are nice to have as co-tenants because they create a lot of traffic, and you're going to be less expensive on your merchandise than they are.
And can I add
Yeah, I
my
got.
own item as well?
Yes, it's your store. You can add anything that you
Okay.
choose to add. Absolutely. There are no restrictions on that at all.
As
I
long
got
as
a
it's
question.
under that price or not, as long as it's not over the $9 or 99 cents, whatever that is,
Well, that's
or it
true.
can be.
It can be more. You can position your store.
Okay.
Say you develop a dollar only store with us, but you just so that's the product mix that you would get from us. But maybe you want to add some product from Honduras, some ethnic product because you have customers that are of that ethnicity. You can certainly add those things, or you may want to. What a lot of our stores do, it's kind of interesting. They may start as a dollar only store, and then they'll get their
Mhm.
toe in the water, so to speak. They'll add maybe some dollar plus items, maybe some categories. Maybe they'll put in some nicer housewares or some nicer hardware. And and keep in mind when we're tracking your sales with you each and every week once you're open, we're going to know. Uh, we may know that your store is doing a better than average job percent to total in sales in hardware. So we're going to make sure that you see all the new goods offerings in hardware, and sometimes that's a cue that you may want to add some dollar plus product in hardware because you got a great customer. So why not do that? And I'm always
Okay.
Yeah.
cautious. People name their store. I make sure that they try not to say $1. Better to say Joe's Dollar Store because then you still have integrity in your name if you add some over a dollar items, as long as they're at even dollar prices. You always
Okay.
want to
I got
leave
a
yourself
question.
that latitude. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Um, for the services, do you have to sign any contract with yourself, or?
No, you sign an agreement for us to initially develop your store, and that agreement
Yep.
ends when your store is open, when we finish putting it together. Yeah, you're not
And
obligated
Hey,
to
also,
us.
quick question.
You're not obligated to us
and
in any
also,
way. Yes, go. Yes, a follow-up question.
you do
Yeah, in
track
in
track core sales.
in theory. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah, let me finish
You
that question.
do you track all our sales?
Actually, you will track all your sales. We go over how to do that in training, but we're going to be talking about them with you.
No, no. I'm saying it's not centralized to you.
No, not at all. Not
Like
at all.
like. Okay.
Yeah, we're not a
I have
franchise. We
another
don't want to
question.
be in your business. I think there was
No,
I
another
have
I
another
gentleman
got.
first.
question.
There was another gentleman first.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I had one question. In theory, let's say there's 1,000 square foot store. Would you recommend selling specifically $1 items in there, or varying it up and placing $1, $2, and $3 items?
Okay, good question. The what typically happens is when you're in real estate and we're looking at locations, and that's where I kind of get involved. We may see a location that you may be seeking to develop a dollar only store, and I may see a location that's really well suited to a 1, 2, 3 or a dollar plus type format. I'm going to get on the phone. We're going to talk about that because if you can do more business in that location, or maybe the competition isn't close and you can serve more customers' needs by being a 1, 2, 3 or dollar plus, I'm always going to make that suggestion to you, and then we'll talk through the pros and cons of doing so.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you, sir.
Quick question.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Quick question. The liquor license that you were talking about earlier, you can help us through that transition, but can we pay for it with our financing, with the money that we get from financing?
It depends on, I mean, if there's money there, yes, absolutely you could. The loan is yours.
Oh.
What you do with it is entirely up to you. And I know in different areas, to do beer and wine, I think in a lot of areas it's fairly inexpensive to actually get the permit or the license. Other areas it's much more expensive. But yeah, no, the loan is yours, and you can use those funds however you choose.
And also can we have a dollar store? Well, obviously, if we have a dollar store and there's liquor, it has to be a dollar plus. So
Right.
can it just be dollar store with groceries and then liquor, or do we have to? Is there like a limit? Do we have to put groceries, dollar store, liquor, clothing, knickknacks and all that stuff?
I think
do we
if
have
you
to go
call
all
it
the way, or
if you call it a dollar store or dollar and more, and then in
okay?
your signage, you can have some bullet points either on the sign or on the windows, depending on what kind of signage the shopping center permits. That's always a
Okay.
nice thing to spell out exactly what you do. So I've got groceries, I've got toys, I've got health and beauty aids, and so on. So
Because you were talking about that there's other people from other ethnicities, from other countries and stuff that we can go ahead and put. Like for instance, I was born in Cuba and I was raised here in Miami.
Okay.
And I'm Cuban, so there are Cuban foods that we normally get or cancels from Publix, but I see that they're not introduced into the dollar stores yet, and I've been around for a while.
If they're
Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We may not have suppliers in our network for that, so it would be something that we'd have to help you source locally. But yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got a
Perfect.
gentleman actually we're getting ready to do a store for now, and he actually has an African food market. He's in the Maryland area, and now he's going to do a dollar store. And he's going to do a 4,000 square foot space. He's doing 3,000 square foot of dollar, and he's putting 1,000 square feet of the African centric product that he imports.
Great. No, because yeah. I'm thinking of, I live here in Miami, but I'm thinking of going to Georgia. So there are Latins in Georgia, but again, maybe it's a big variety of Latins. So I was thinking, let me see if you guys help with that.
Sure. We will do everything we can to find those sources for you.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's no limit on what you can do.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a question concerning point of sales, and I'm assuming that there's a point of sales with the program. So it's a 2-point question. Do you provide support, on-site support for point of sales problems? And if so, how long is the support provided?
Okay, good question. And I'll give you the short answer. We no longer provide a point of sale system, and I will tell you why. We started putting one in the stores 5 or 6 years ago, and in our business, it's unlike so many other businesses, the product changes so quickly and so regularly. I mentioned the new goods component and how important that is. So for a store to be as successful as possible, 50 to 60% of the items that you buy or you have in your store, you will never rebuy. You're always going to buy something new. The core products, that 30 or 40% of the consumable items, those you'll always rebuy, but you may get them from different suppliers. So what we found, and what our store owners actually found, is over time they were spending so much time creating the data files and updating the information in their POS system, their point of sale system, that it was taking away from their ability to run their store. So we reverted back to an electronic cash register. It tracks your sales by category, which is the most effective way to evaluate where your sales are coming from. And we've got an ordering procedure that we teach in training. To order your store will take you about 2 hours a week. Very, very simple to do.
Okay. In conjunction with what she just asked, how would you do your loss prevention for inventory then? If you're not, you buy 20 of an item and 5 of them you didn't sell, but you only sold 15, and there's 5 missing. How would you know that?
Okay, good question. One of the things that we do in training is we have a log. Every time you get a shipment in, you log it in, and you log in the total number of pieces, the average cost of the order, and the key there, and some other information, but the key is the number of pieces that you received. So you may know in a month's time that you added 15,000 pieces of inventory to your store, okay? And if your sales were $15,000 for that month, just use some round numbers, your store should look pretty much like it did at the start of the month. And you can take a physical inventory at any time. A point of sale doesn't tell you what you're missing, really. It just tells you what you sold. So, a lot of people tend to rely on a point of sale system saying that this is gonna help me control my loss. It really doesn't. It just tells you what you lost. And it doesn't tell you that until you actually go to the shelf and look, which is how we do it under our system.
And just so you'll know, Bank of America has a great point of sale system.
Yeah, and certainly what I was going to say as a follow-up, most banks that you'll talk to do your banking and set up your credit and debit card transactions through and so forth, virtually all of them will offer a point of sale system very inexpensively, and sometimes at almost no cost. Um, we used to have an affiliation with Wells Fargo, and we did our point of sale system through them. But as I say, the store owners, 3 or 4 months in, reverted to using them basically as expensive cash registers. I'm not going to dissuade you from doing it. I'm just going to caution you that it can become a job in and of itself. If you do choose to do that, when we do your store setup, we'll have the suppliers provide you with all the UPC codes and so forth so you can populate your point of sale system. We'll do that to certainly help you set up. And that decision ultimately is yours.
Hello, John. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you this evening?
My name is Lana from Chicago. My husband, Dimitri Bolden, had just asked you questions in the beginning of this seminar.
Yes.
I had a question as far as right now I have an LLC and I've been in business for at least going on 2 years now, but I'm online. And as far as with my credit, it's okay, but in order for me to try to do this, I know I'm going to need my husband's help to be either on the loan or anything. I was trying to see what I have to change over my business license that I have to try to get, the funding for it, or would it be if he has a better credit rate as far as his credit, would it be in his name or would it continue to be in my name? How would that go?
Okay, well, there's 3 questions in there. Under the LLC, you can open any number of different businesses. You just have to have a business license for each one. So if your business license is Lana Bolden Enterprises, you could under that you could have a DBA Lana Bolden Enterprises doing business as online sales. Another one doing business as Dimitri's Dollar Store. It can be whatever you choose. So that's how you would structure that. In terms of getting the funding, if Dimitri is the stronger credit partner, then he would get the loan. He would be the primary, you would be a partner, whether you got any funding or not. And then in terms of how you set up the ownership for the store, that would be entirely up to you. The funding is separate from who's actually named in the store. On our side, we would, if that was what happened, we would do the purchase agreement under Dimitri and Lana Bolden, or we do it under your LLC if you chose to have it that way. So we can do whatever you choose.
Okay, now I'm sorry, I meant to ask this as well. Now, say if both are, say we both want to apply for the loan, is it possible that we can use both our names to get higher?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
We often have sometimes 2, 3 partners even. So you may qualify for a certain amount of money. Dimitri may qualify for more, and together you have enough to do the store, or maybe enough to do the store plus. The first thing is to see, what you each individually would qualify for, and then you determine how you want to go forward from there.
So we will individually have to pay $500 a piece, or
No.
will we be able to
one
do
deposit.
$500?
Yeah, no, absolutely, just one deposit.
Okay. Thank you, John.
You're so welcome. Thank you. And you have, and I meant to mention this earlier. I don't know who's left on the call, but you have my number. You have your sales representative's number. Call us with any questions at all. Don't hesitate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Can I get
Yes,
that
if I may just
Go ahead, one at a time. Go ahead.
the website?
The website is www.dollarstoreservices.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next question?
If I may just backtrack a little bit
Yeah.
in terms of the return on investment. I know that every state and every city will be very different, can vastly differ. But in your experience, on average, you were mentioning 40 cents. Does that mean that on average, every dollar that the investor puts in, you're looking at about 40 cents return?
Well, it's slightly different, but yeah, it's very, very close. What I said was that the average margin on merchandise, gross margin on merchandise sales is 45%. So out of every dollar that you take in, 45% of it is gross profit. Now, out of that gross profit, you have to pay your expenses. Yeah, so in other words, out of that 45 cents, you pay your salaries, your rent, your utilities. So,
okay. So it could be a lot, significantly less.
Yeah, I would look, yeah, absolutely. But it's still, yeah, I would look to net out when you're all said and done, somewhere between 15 and 20% net profit, which is a pretty good number for retail.
Right.
It's actually a very good number.
Right.
After all your expenses are paid and everything else. Yeah, go ahead.
I see. And the next question would be in your experience, do you see a particular city or a real estate commercial class segment that does best? Meaning, would it be the A-class type of commercial real estate location, or would it be C-class location?
Good question, and difficult one to answer. One thing that we look at when we start to evaluate locations is the ability to do business and be profitable. So we may see, and I actually went through this exercise yesterday with a client, we may see a location that it's a newer center, very, very busy, all first-generation tenants, but the rent is higher than market because the landlord believes he has a prime center and there hasn't been a shakeout of tenants yet. So then we looked at that. Then we looked at another location, was what you might describe as a B or a C location. It was an older center, still grocery anchored, so comparable, but older, more established, didn't have that shiny new look to it, but the rent was 25% less. So when we sat down and did the analysis of both, what we found was, and what we often find is that customer, that prospective store owner, could make more money, more bottom line profit doing less business in the second level center because the rent was so significantly lower. So I guess that's the best way to answer your question. We do that analysis for every location to kind of understand, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is make the most money possible.
They did. He didn't put Howard to like half of the first game and they got louder.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. And then as far as the third part of that question is, if we're looking at state, for example, I'm in California.
Okay.
And it's very similar to New York. We don't see that many dollar stores. And so I just want to know if your company can tell us which particular location would really thrive in California or somewhere that's near where I live.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We'll look at all the potentials. One second. Excuse me, there's someone having a conversation in the background. Could you please mute your phone? Thank you. To go back to your question, we would look at, if you tell me you're in Brea, and I don't know where you are, but we will look at areas that we believe the rent structures are such and the competition is such that we feel relatively confident that we can find a good location, position a store for you there. And that's kind of how that process starts.
Okay,
You know,
got it.
if
Thank
you
you very
if you
much.
ask if you ask me today to tell me 6 areas in California where a store would do well, I'm not prepared to I'm not prepared to do that. But once we have a
Right, right. I
general area to
totally
work in, yeah,
understand.
absolutely we can put a finer point on that for you.
Okay. And sorry, could I just add one more question? And I'm
Sure.
sure other people can benefit from this.
Absolutely.
Is as far as the store sizes is concerned, again, in your experience, do you see a particular size that generally just does better than the others? We certainly don't want to start too big, but let's say if the larger one actually in the long term will do better than the smallest one, maybe that's the way to go.
Okay, good question. I'll start by saying that every store size that we develop can work well and be successful in the right environment. And our mission is to find that environment. But all things being equal, if my funds were, well, not unlimited because they're not, but if I had a sweet spot for store size, it would be between 2 and 3,000 or 3,500 square feet. Uh, for a couple of reasons. The space is big enough and the frontage is big enough that you can make a statement to people going by. They can see that you're a store of some size, and you can fully merchandise all the categories without overspreading any of them. So, as I say, any store size will work in the right spot. Uh, if I was looking for a dream location and I could fund it, I would say between 2 and 3,500.
Got it. Great. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, concerning the 401k, when I have had a relative of mine get from his 401k, they only usually give him about maybe $10,000 to $15,000. How does this work? Like, how do we tap into the 401k concerning, let's say, I want to open up a 2,500 square feet, which I'm looking here on your website, it's 139.9.
Okay.
How would I approach them with that?
Okay.
Or would you know?
The way, well, each 401k has slightly different rules, but we do have, setting aside the CARES Act for a minute, we have a lender that actually does what they call a 401k rollover. And basically, you can take virtually all the funds, or a pretty good amount of the funds, out of a 401k. You kind of set up a separate corporation. It's a little bit of a process, but we do them every month for a lot of people. So
because
that's
he has a big amount, but for some reason he's only been able to get like in little amounts.
Yeah.
This is through public supermarkets.
It's probably
so he's
because
been there for 30 some odd years.
And it's probably because he's doing it directly. He's just taking, okay, I want to take some money out of my 401k. How much can I take? And they tell this. This is a little bit different, where they're basically loaning against the 401k. It's a little convoluted, and I won't explain it well, so I'm not going to try. But I know that I've seen people get 100, 150,000 or more out of their 401k through this process.
Okay.
And there is a fee for it, but it's not overwhelmingly expensive, and it's a great way to source your store, to fund your store.
Yeah, right, because I spoke to him concerning this, and I wanted him to come in with me because I don't have good credit. I'm working on that. Okay. Neither do I have a job due to the coronavirus, but he has some, he has some way of going through the 401k.
Yeah,
so
I would say
I wanted to get him.
I would say have him make the application with you, or you make the application, then we'll show him as a partner. They may flip it and make him the primary because he's going to be doing the funding. But they can explain that process, and then you'll know if you want to go forward or not, or he does.
Got it. Okay, got it. Great.
Yeah, just call your rep tomorrow.
Okay.
I have a question. I have a question, if you would, please.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have like 100 shares of stock from my job. And I know due to the pandemic, the economy is bad. Is there anything you all can help me with in reference to that?
No, unfortunately, we
I
don't
mean,
have any lenders. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have any lenders that can loan or use those as against or use those as collateral. Fortunate, but
okay,
yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I could.
that's okay.
John, I have a
Mine
question.
aren't doing very
Yes,
well either. That's a consolation.
Hello. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead.
Are you allowed to open like more than one location if you can?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no limit. And it's kind of nice if you're in a market where there's opportunity to do a second and a third location, and most of them are. It's kind of nice. You can build a brand for yourself, and then there's some economies of scale that you can apply too. You can place orders into one store and split the merchandise and put it into the other two or three or whatever that might be. Yeah, absolutely. No limit on that at all.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Question.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yeah,
in my,
can we put up our
Yes,
house
I do have.
collateral?
Hold on, someone was already speaking. Go ahead.
Can we put up our house for collateral?
You can't put up your house, but you can get a home equity loan and take the money out of your house.
Well,
And that's a great way to fund your money because
LLC.
I'm sorry?
I don't have a mortgage company. I have an LLC.
Okay. You have equity in your home though?
Definitely $105,000.
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty good.
I think that's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a home equity loan through the mortgage holder, and that's a great way because the interest rates are so low. You're paying yourself back at a very low rate of interest.
But that's what I was trying to say. I don't have a mortgage company. I have an LLC that is my mortgage was sold to them. So how they don't do loans. So how would I have to do that? Can I do that through you guys?
No, you'd have to find a mortgage lender and have them do it for you. Yeah, you could still do it, but yeah, it's a little more convoluted.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would like to ask a question.
One moment, sir. Go ahead, lady.
Yes. Most dollar stores in my state are located next to a Walmart or nearby a Walmart, across the street or whatever. So I was wondering, do you consider that an ideal location for dollar stores?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get closer to a Walmart or a Target or a grocery store, always very beneficial. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because they create so much traffic.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, you had a question, I believe?
Yes. I have a question regarding, let's say, the Dollar Plus store, which costs $154,000 to set up, right?
Okay.
How much of that is in merchandise in the store when supposedly I want to start that store? How much of that is in merchandise?
Okay, then that would be, I think you're looking at the 3,000 square foot Dollar Plus store.
Yes.
Okay. The inventory that comes with that would be $60,000 at cost, which would be about $110,000 at retail.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, I have two questions.
Okay.
This is Dimitri again.
Yes.
Is it beneficial when you apply for your line of credit that you're applying for the business to be established? And my second question is, does it hurt an individual on applying for the line of credit because you are already a homeowner, you have a car note, you have other maybe, a few things here and there that you're actually paying on, or does it just goes on the credit score itself?
It goes primarily on, well, no, let me restate that. Yes, all of that factors in. The credit score is one piece of it, but the credit history is as important. You know, they look at it, have you made payments consistently over time? Do you have lates? Did you have a delinquency? Did you have some payoffs or charge-offs? So yeah, the stronger your history is, obviously that plays into it. That actually feeds your credit score as well. So they're kind of tied together, if I can say it that way.
Okay, so is it beneficial when they know, just say for instance, that you're actually applying for this loan because of becoming a business owner? Does that benefit you with the lender, or is it's just like we said? I guess just
yeah, no, not specifically. Not. It's really just they look at your credit worthiness. You know, the purpose of the loan is kind of secondary. Yeah, it's really tied to the score and the history.
Okay.
Any other questions?
John, do you guys have any idea as to when you may possibly start to do the on-site trainings once again? I know at one point I believe you guys were doing it in Las Vegas. Do you have any idea due to COVID, like when you guys might be doing that on, because I'm like a hands-on person. So do you know maybe like an estimate, maybe sometime next year or anything like that?
I'm hoping sooner than that, but it's, with the way things are, it's just so hard to read. I'd really hoped we'd be there now, quite honestly. But I would say I don't see it being a possibility, certainly until after the first of the year. I mean, it's October in 5 minutes, and everything I see on the news is contradictory to everything I saw on the news yesterday. So, yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball for that. I will tell you that we've been doing the online and phone training for years, because we always have individuals that either can't come here or choose not to come here, and so it's very, very effective. It's not something that we kind of cobbled together in the last couple of months. We've been doing it, the online piece, for probably 10 years or more. So, but yeah, I'd say live training, we're probably a ways out yet.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. My questions are like 3 of them, because I was off. I was just in mute listening, but I wanted to see if I can get an answer, either each one of them or just like all of them randomly.
Go right ahead.
Can I ask one by one or all of them one?
Ask all 3, and then if I need you to go back, I will do that. Go ahead.
All right. So first question is, what if I don't get qualified or approved with the system? Can they go, or what's the next step? The second one is, can I choose a location on, if I have a preferable places that I see that store feet?
Okay.
Third one is, I didn't get a chance to write down the questions and the answers that were generated or asked. Can I get a copy if there is somebody that took the notes down? That's it.
Okay, good. Okay, the first question is, if you make an application deposit and you don't qualify for any funding, we return the deposit to you right away. That would be answer to that question. In terms of choosing a location, yes, absolutely. If you see a location that you like and you want us to negotiate it for you, we will certainly do that. If you have a location that you either already control or you want to negotiate it yourself, that's fine. We just give you some credit for not having to do the leasing work. But yeah, in fact, when you come into real estate, one of the first questions that I always ask is, have you seen any locations you're interested in? Because if you have, then we can get your store open more quickly. So yeah, absolutely, you can choose any location like that. And then the third question, was, I lost it. What was that?
Can I get a copy
notes.
of the questions asked if there's anybody wrote?
Yeah, well, actually, what's going to happen? No, nobody recorded the questions, but we will email you, I think, Monday or Tuesday, a copy of this recording of this whole
Oh,
evening.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll have our IT people will clean it up, so we'll get rid of some of the dogs barking and things like that. So, yeah, so it'll
Okay.
come out in an email to you.
Last
You'll have a link to it.
last one. Is it better to run it as a sole proprietor or an LLC?
That depends on your personal situation, um, and I'm not an attorney, though I do play one on television. No, that's always a good question for your accountant or your attorney because everybody's situation is different, and whatever I tell you is going to be wrong for you. So that's always a good question to ask if you have an accountant or an attorney or somebody that gives you financial advice. Um, if you have
Okay.
nothing, yeah. Usually, what most people end up doing, quite honestly, is doing an LLC. You can set them up for a few $100s, like through LegalZoom. There's any number of people, and we have a couple that we can provide you as resources for that. That's usually the best format. It gives you some degree of protection, if something goes sideways. Um, so that would be my recommendation, but I'm always going to tell you to ask a professional, which I'm not.
John, a quick question.
Yes.
How can I compare like a $3,000 store to what? $3,000 square foot store that you guys, to what store?
Okay, good question. Let me think for just a minute here. Do you remember the Blockbuster stores, the video stores?
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, they were about 4,000 square feet.
Oh, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, so 3,000. I know they're not around anymore, but Payless Shoes were normally about 2,500 or so, but they tended to be narrower and deeper. Radio Shacks were about 2,000 to 2,500 square feet.
This is $1, $2, $3. Is this what I'm looking at? Wait, no, the 3,000, the 2,500.
2,500, probably like a Radio Shack.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Convenience stores are about 2,000 square feet, something like that. But you have to remember they have a lot of off-sale space that you don't see.
Okay.
You have the built-in freezers and coolers and all of that. So those are some pretty good rules of thumb. You're welcome. Thank you.
So how much space do you need
John, I
for
have a
dollar
question.
store?
Hold on, there's a gentleman. Go ahead, sir.
So how much space do we need? Is it required for the dollar store?
You can start at 1,000 square feet.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, John, I have a question. Can you ship overseas?
Yeah, if you wanted to do a store overseas, is that your question? Yeah, absolutely. We do that several times a year. I just shipped a 3,000 square foot store to Nigeria.
Okay.
So yeah, we do a lot of international stuff. Yeah, the pricing is a little bit different. The pricing is a little bit different because there's some ocean freight involved and there's some other moving parts. Not appreciably so, but I usually do those on a custom price basis because there are things you may not want, other things you may absolutely want. So, but yeah, I'm happy to do that. Just call me and I'll when you're ready and we'll work on a quote for that. Internationally, we normally we need the prospect to secure the location because we can't do site or leasing. We can do it in Canada, we can do it in Jamaica and the British Virgin Islands, but outside of that, no. So you'd have to come to us with the location.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, let's do it.
Really.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You there?
Yes, go ahead.
Really stupid question. Can you do this in Cuba?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know that I can do it. We can do it. I don't think our governments will let us do it yet.
No, I was asked to ask.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that that's a possibility. I'll ask the question tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure that it's not that open yet for that kind of development.
Believe that would make billions there.
I would love to do it. If you can figure it out, you call me. We'll get it done.
Definitely, yes.
Plus, I'd love to go there.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yes. I am struggling with or seeking out information concerning how to, because say I have cash, but I'm interested in a way to possibly lock up cash and be able to purchase the dollar store package by creating my own financing instead of my cash just disappearing.
Sure. No. It's the thing to do is let's see what kind of financing you qualify for. It's always nicer to work with somebody else's money if you can. I'm in full agreement with that. And then you just have to kind of weigh. You kind of have to weigh the benefits and the disadvantages. If you get a loan, obviously there's fees and interest involved in that. And if you can justify that and keep your cash for yourself, then it's a great thing to do. Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess the first step would be to come on board. Let's see what we can do for you financing wise, and then you can make that decision. Any other questions?
Okay, John.
Yes, sir.
So the application needs to be done online. That's correct.
You can do it online, or you can call your sales representative here in our office. His name would have been on the email that you got, and he can do it over the phone with you in like 10 minutes.
Okay, then. Thank you.
You bet. Sometimes that's the easiest way, so we can get it done, and then we can see what we can do in financing. Any other questions?
I had a question. This is Sam Boyd, Northern California.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I had a question about security cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And if needed, security guard. Is that needed in certain areas, or?
We almost never. I can't think of any stores that have an actual security guard. We do have a number of stores that put in a camera system, and it's more deterrent than anything else, as I'm sure you would imagine. We normally source them through Best Buy. They've got a great system for about $500, and they actually come out and install it, train you on it, and so forth. It's a pretty good system. Security guards, if something that's required in an area where you might be doing a store, the shopping centers most often have that on-site security because other tenants need it as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, and what about insurance? Does the package cover the insurance of the store?
It does not, because that's a cost that varies so much by market and the type of coverage that you want or that the landlord requires. So no, that wouldn't be in the package. In your lease, the landlord will tell you what kind of coverage you need, and we can help you shop it. But most often, whoever does your personal insurance can quote you on that. And then what I always like to do is actually go back to the landlord and see who most of the tenants are using for insurance, because they've already done that groundwork and they have the best rates and the best providers.
I see. And another question, what is the date of operation and hours?
Okay. Typically you want to mirror what the other businesses in your shopping center are doing. Most often it's going to be like 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening, or 9 to 9, or something close to that, depending what the other merchants are doing. And then Sunday is usually a shorter day, like a 10 to 5 or 10 to 6, something like that. And what we always have our stores do is once they're open with hours like that, and then you take readings every hour, because what you might find is if you're opening from 9 to 9, you may find that you're busy right when you open the doors in the morning, but you're kind of slow between 8 and 9 at night, so you might want to bump it up. Maybe open at 8 and close at 8, so you capture more of that business because people want to get in there. So you kind of feel your way, but typically something very close to that is what you would want to do.
I see.
Can it be open 24 hours?
If you choose, absolutely. You know, if you're in a
Because of
location, yeah, if you're in a location where you can do that level of business to justify it, yeah, absolutely. What I used, it's kind of interesting, and I don't know how many people are left on the call. When I had my stores, I used to open one day a week at like 7 in the morning, and I made it senior shopping from 7 to 9. There's a lot of senior communities near one of my stores, you know, retirement homes, assisted living, and so on. And they're always looking for.
Oh, we lost you.
John LaFronz disconnected.